Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into the life and music of Erik Satie.
The composer behind the Gymnopédies?
Precisely the Gymnopédies. You know those hauntingly beautiful piano pieces you hear everywhere?
In cafes and films?
Exactly. But today, we're going beyond those familiar melodies to explore the man behind the music.
And what a man he was.
Truly a fascinating character. So, to start, where was Erik Satie even from?
He was born in Honfleur,
Honfleur.
in Normandy, to a French father and a British mother.
Oh, a blend of cultures right from the start.
At the very beginning.
Do you think that that mix of French and British heritage had any influence on his music?
It's hard to say for certain, but you can definitely hear a unique blend of styles in his compositions. A touch of French Impressionism with almost a hint of
What is it?
almost a hint of English folk music in there.
Interesting. So he's born in Normandy, goes on to study music, I imagine.
Naturally. He attended the prestigious Paris Conservatoire.
The Paris Conservatoire. That's quite the institution.
It is. But Satie wasn't exactly a model student.
What do you mean?
Well, he struggled to conform to the strict academic structure.
Yeah.
His teachers even labeled him as lazy.
They did.
Oh, yes. They called him the laziest student in the conservatoire.
The laziest student. That's quite a label to carry.
It is. But it seems that Satie thrived outside of those rigid academic walls.
So he wasn't cut out for the traditional path then.
It seems not. He found his true home in the Bohemian cabarets of Montmartre.
Ah, Montmartre. The heart of Parisian artistic life.
At the time, absolutely.
And this is where he really started composing his own unique style.
This is where he penned some of his most famous works. The Gymnopédies, the Gnossiennes.
Those simple but incredibly evocative melodies.
Precisely. They were unlike anything else being played in Paris at the time.
I can imagine they were a breath of fresh air.
A breath of fresh air infused with this melancholic beauty.
And they still resonate with listeners today over a century later.
That they do, which is a testament to Satie's unique vision.
Absolutely. So it seems like this early rejection of the traditional musical path really shaped his whole approach to music. And to life, in fact.
It certainly did. And this unconventionality extended beyond his music.
Tell me more.
Satie was a master of self-reinvention. He adopted different personas throughout his life.
Personas, like what?
Well, for example, he had a phase where he considered himself quasi-priest. He even tried to start his own artistic church.
An artistic church. That's something else.
And then there was the Velvet Gentleman phase.
The Velvet Gentleman.
Yes, he insisted on wearing 7 identical velvet suits, all in this same drab-dun color.
7 identical velvet suits. It seems like he was almost living in a perpetual state of performance art.
In a way, he was. But each persona, no matter how outlandish, seemed to reflect a part of his true personality.
It's fascinating how these seemingly contradictory impulses can exist within a single person.
It is. And one persona in particular, the Velvet Gentleman, emerged after a rather difficult period in Satie's life.
Can you elaborate?
He had just ended a passionate but tumultuous romance with the painter Suzanne Valadon.
Suzanne Valadon, I know her work.
She even painted a portrait of Satie during their time together.
I've seen that portrait. It captures a rare, softer side of him.
It does. And the heartbreak from that relationship seems to have affected him deeply. It's as though the Velvet Gentleman persona was a kind of armor.
A way to shield himself.
Exactly, to shield himself from the vulnerability and the pain.
And those drab velvet suits, a way to present a unified front to the world, to conceal any cracks in the facade.
It's a fascinating contrast, isn't it? The man who embraced the unconventional, yet sought solace in uniformity.
It does seem paradoxical.
And yet it's a recurring theme in Satie's life, this need for control.
How so?
You see it in his meticulous attire, his rigid daily routines, even his eventual retreat from the very artistic circles he helped to create.
You're referring to his move to Arcueil.
Exactly. He moved to a tiny room in the suburb of Arcueil and lived there in relative isolation until his death.
Refusing visitors.
For the most part, yes. He only allowed a select few into his carefully curated world.
It seems like a stark contrast to the flamboyance of his public personas.
It does. But for Satie, this seclusion seems to have been a way to maintain control over his life, to create a sense of order and autonomy.
Perhaps in solitude, he felt truly free to create, to explore his musical imagination without distractions from the outside world.
A very intriguing thought. It highlights the complexity of Satie's character.
The man who craved connection and artistic collaboration, yet ultimately found solace in solitude.
A fascinating paradox indeed.
Those contrasting desires are so interesting. But even with his eccentricities, you can't deny his talent.
Absolutely not. Even his critics acknowledged the brilliance of his work.
His music was truly innovative, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable at the time.
Challenging conventions, absolutely.
But recognition for his work didn't come easy, did it?
It didn't. It wasn't until he was in his mid-40s that he started to gain wider acclaim.
What changed?
Well, another prominent composer, Maurice Ravel, became a champion of Satie's work.
Maurice Ravel. Now he was a force to be reckoned with in the music world.
He was, and Ravel recognized the genius in Satie's music that others had overlooked.
He saw something special in those deceptively simple melodies.
He did. He understood the subtle complexities hidden beneath the surface.
And Ravel's support helped bring Satie's music to a larger audience.
It did. And finally, Satie began to receive the recognition he deserved.
It's interesting, though, that even with his own success, Satie had a complicated relationship with other composers.
Especially with the younger generation.
What do you mean?
Well, he had this tendency to take young composers under his wing, encourage their talent, and then almost as quickly push them away.
That's strange. Why would he do that?
It's hard to say for sure. Maybe he felt threatened by their growing success.
Or maybe he just craved that solitude we talked about earlier.
It's possible. He did this with the group Les Six.
Les Six, the group with Georges Auric and Francis Poulenc.
Yes, they were initially drawn to Satie's unconventional style, but he eventually distanced himself from them.
A pattern of pushing people away.
It seems so.
And his relationship with Claude Debussy also soured over time.
They had a falling out, apparently, over creative differences.
Debussy and Satie. It's sad to think of these two brilliant minds, connected by their love of music but unable to see eye to eye.
A clash of artistic visions.
It's a reminder that even in the world of art, human relationships can be complex.
Indeed. But even as Satie pushed people away, he never stopped experimenting.
He wasn't content to just stick with solo piano pieces.
He ventured into larger works, collaborated with artists from other disciplines.
Like his ballet Parade.
Precisely. Parade was collaboration with Picasso and Diaghilev, a true avant-garde spectacle.
It caused quite a stir when it premiered.
It did. The music was unconventional, the costumes outrageous, the story abstract and surreal.
A true fusion of music, dance, and visual art.
Pushing the very boundaries of what ballet could be.
It must have shocked and delighted audiences in equal measure.
I would imagine so.
It was such a perfect example of Satie's ability to defy expectations.
To collaborate with other artists and create something truly unique.
And he continued to explore different forms of musical expression throughout his career.
He composed a symphonic drama called Socrate,
Suzanne.
inspired by Plato's dialogues,
Blending classical forms with a modern sensibility.
creating a sound world that was both ancient and contemporary.
And Satie actually invented this symphonic drama genre himself.
He did. It was a departure from traditional opera, more reliant on spoken word and a minimalist orchestral score.
Creating a very contemplative atmosphere.
Almost meditative.
It speaks to his intellectual curiosity and his willingness to experiment.
To break free from established musical forms.
And beyond composing, he was a gifted writer.
He contributed to various publications under his own name and various pseudonyms.
His writing, much like his music, was witty, satirical.
Full of unexpected turns of phrase.
Challenging societal norms, poking fun at the establishment.
A true Renaissance man.
But for all his forward-thinking artistic ideas, he had a rather complicated relationship with technology.
Technology.
It's almost paradoxical, isn't it? This aversion to technology.
It does seem counterintuitive for a man so ahead of his time in many ways.
Surrounded by artists who were embracing all the latest advancements.
And yet he rejected them outright. The telephone, the gramophone, even the radio.
It's as if he saw technology as a threat to something pure about artistic expression.
Perhaps he felt these new inventions would create a distance between the artist and the audience.
A kind of mediated experience lacking that immediacy and intimacy he valued so much.
It's an interesting theory.
Or maybe it was simply a matter of temperament. Satie was a creature of habit, after all.
He did find comfort in routine and tradition.
Meticulously dressed, yet his apartment was described as rather squalid after his death.
A peculiar juxtaposition.
A complex mix of the refined and the unkempt, living in a world of his own making.
And it was in this world, this internal landscape, that his music truly came alive.
Those dreamlike qualities, those haunting melodies, and those often unconventional structures.
They offer us a glimpse into the mind of a truly unique individual.
And his music still feels so fresh and relevant today.
Over a century later.
It speaks to something deep within us, something that transcends time and trends.
I think that's because Satie was able to tap into something universal about the human experience.
The longing for beauty, the search for meaning, the struggle with solitude and connection.
Timeless themes that resonate with listeners across generations.
And maybe that's why his music continues to fascinate us.
We're drawn to the enigma of the man.
To the contradictions and complexities that made him who he was.
He was a pioneer, a provocateur, a poet of sound.
All wrapped into one.
He challenged conventions, embraced paradoxes, and ultimately left behind a body of work that continues to inspire.
And to intrigue us.
He was, in many ways, a living, breathing embodiment of the modernist spirit.
A spirit of experimentation, of innovation, of rejecting the status quo. So as we conclude our deep dive into the world of Erik Satie, what can we take away from this exploration?
I think we can learn that genius often comes in unexpected packages.
That true artistry doesn't always fit neatly into predefined categories.
And that the most enduring legacies are often forged by those who dare to be different.
Who follow their own path, even when that path leads them away from the mainstream.
Away from the expected.
Erik Satie was undoubtedly one of those individuals. A man who defied expectations, embraced contradictions.
And left an indelible mark on the world of music.
A true original whose music continues to invite us to listen, to reflect, to explore the hidden depths of our own imaginations.
And perhaps that is the greatest gift he left us.
A body of work that encourages us to think differently, to feel deeply, to embrace the beautiful complexities of the human experience.
To see the world through a different lens.
As you listen to Satie's music, not just the familiar Gymnopédies, but the lesser-known pieces as well. Consider this.
What is it about the work of a man who seems so determined to push people away that continues to draw us in?
What is it about his music that speaks to us across time and space?